to Beyoncé. She collaborated with Tommy Hilfiger to launch a perfume. So I was flown up to New York to interview her. And of course, I had to talk a bit about the perfume, which is like the boring part, right? Then, of course, I asked her about her life. And she said, I remember she told me the most.
So hi everyone, in today's podcast we're going to talk about Susanah's role or Susanah's work when she was in publishing. As some of you may know, she was a group editor, I think one of the top more popular women's magazines in Singapore and Malaysia. Is that right?
Yes, I was group editor for women's titles that were homegrown, like Her World, Female, even the Chinese magazine, New York. And then after a time, we had Simply Her, which was quite a very practical sort of how to do things type of magazine. Yeah.
Okay.
A bit of a Martha Stewart type, yeah. Then, of course, we had the bridal spin-offs, we had watch spin-offs, etc. And we even had a teen magazine called 17, yeah.
Okay.
So we were in Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam. Yeah, Her World went to Vietnam even. Yeah. We licensed out the title to these other publishing companies in other countries. But they had to follow our DNA. So they had to learn, be trained, on the lookbook, our editorial direction, stuff like that. So, I did that for almost 30 years.
Wow.
30, yeah. I started, maybe I can just talk about how I got into it. I started out as a writer in female magazine itself. It's very weird how I got into it. I always knew I wanted to be a journalist. But I couldn't decide back then, before I started work, whether I would work for a newspaper or a magazine. I always had this perception that if you work for a newspaper, it's more prestigious. Magazines are so flaky and fuzzy and so shallow and it's not important, about fashion and beauty is not as important as like what's happening in the world, current affairs. So I actually went for 2 interviews, one for a magazine and one for a paper. And I told myself, okay, whichever one comes, then I will take it lah. And it so happens, actually I was offered both, but for whatever reason, I chose the magazine one. I think I'm a bit of an underachiever in that sense. So I felt that, it's very easy what? I just write about the things that I like. How difficult is that? Like, it's so fun. It wouldn't even feel like work. So in a way, I chose that because I thought, it's easy. I can do it. It feels like fun and I get paid for it. So why not? Instead of like struggling with hard news and current affairs, it's something that I didn't even enjoy as an individual. I didn't even like reading the papers, to tell you the truth. I sure like looking at magazines, right? So that's how it started. As a writer. So I literally worked my way up. Writer. As a writer, I wrote everything, general things like whatever, features, people interviews, beauty, even a bit of fashion, lifestyle, it gets thrown everything because you're supposed to learn every beat, right? And then it came a time where, because my team had 2 guys, so beauty was not really handled by them. I mean, they couldn't really handle beauty because I don't think it's as believable if a man wrote about women's skincare and makeup, right? So it fell on me. So a lot of the beauty assignments just came my way. I mean, the guys could do fashion still, so that was no problem. I ended up becoming a bit of an expert in beauty as a result. And then, of course, related subjects like health and fitness also got thrown my way. Yeah, so then I became a beauty editor because of that. Yeah, also by chance, not something I chose. Yeah. I mean, back then, if you had asked me what beat I would want to pick, I wouldn't know, and it wouldn't be beauty, I can tell you that. I don't know why, yeah. Just thought it was a bit scientific because skincare talks a lot about ingredients and how they interact with your skin and your hair, and yeah, so it can get very technical, and it's not something I would enjoy. Yeah, yeah. But then yeah, so it became, my destiny, I guess, became beauty editor. And then when a position came up within the magazine in female for an editor, then I was given that role. Yeah, so it kind of meant I went back to overseeing everything again, like as though I was a writer. I had to write about everything. Now I had to have a good overview and to be able to edit different beats. Yeah. Which I felt was very useful, that I did everything back then, so that helped me to, know what I'm editing and know what I'm doing, whether the writers are doing the right thing in process wise, and getting the information and all that research.
Okay.
So from editor, then uh, I was in publishing at a time where I would say it was boomtown. Advertising was coming in, very strongly. So there was a lot of confidence in the business. So the publishers that I worked for, they bought more and more magazines. They wanted to start more magazines. They wanted to buy titles. They wanted to buy the franchise of overseas titles. Yeah. So that's how I became group editor as well. Yeah, because it became like, okay, I'm not just looking after one title. That's like being a title editor. So there were like groups of titles that I had to look after. Yeah. So when I moved into that uh, area, then I had to have title editors running the individual magazines because it's really not possible to be detailed and to be micro and macro at the same time. Yeah. So in the last 9 years of my career, it was very macro. Yeah, it was very big picture. I wasn't even involved in the brainstorming anymore, like creative, like, that was what I enjoyed the most. Like every month, before we decide how the issue is going to be, then everyone comes together with their ideas. And then we put together this magazine and then editing everything and even like editing the layouts and then seeing it through to print. It was so satisfying. It's like giving birth. And then it's so agonizing because deadlines are crucial and you work late and sometimes things have to be changed, chopped and changed, and it can be very frustrating with advertisers and stuff like that. Yeah. But when it comes out, when a magazine lands on your desk, fresh from the oven, you're like, do this again. You gotta fool yourself and say, okay, I can push for the next month again. And it went on and on. Yeah. So I missed that as group editor. I wasn't involved in that. The only creative part I was involved in was when the editors had gone through that meeting and then they would just come and present that issue and then I would fine tune if it was needed. Yeah. Yeah. And I would fine tune based on the positioning of the title. So because I had at least 10 titles under me, I had to be very clear, and everybody in whichever title had to be very clear about the positioning of it because you don't want to eat into each other's market. So from the sort of stories you pitch, the people you interview, the pictures that you choose, the kind of fashion spreads, the merchandise, everything had to be segmented very clearly, in terms of positioning. And we didn't really go by age. We went more by psychographics.
Okay.
Yeah, because we realized that women, okay, like I take myself, for example, I'm 58, but my psychographic is not chronologically 58. Yeah.
Mm.
I still love like fashion. I want to know what's the latest. I will buy the latest. Yeah. So if you're gonna put out a magazine for someone who's interested in trends, then you cannot go by age. Yeah, she could be 20 or 65. Yeah. So it became like that. Yeah. So different magazines had a different psychographic. Like people who, like for Simply Her, they may be young people, young mothers, 35-year-olds who are moms, and they need to know, what's the fastest way of making your child eat before school. Yeah, to eat breakfast before school, like 10 tips, that kind of thing. Yeah. Whereas for me, I'm not interested. I may have been back then 40 or whatever, but I don't want to know about how to make stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
I thought that was uh, a more realistic way of looking at the market. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah lah. So I was like wearing different hats. And every time I see a specific editor, then I'll be like, okay, I have to put on this hat, put on my herbal hat, put on my female hat. Yeah. And the worst, the most difficult two magazines to differentiate were female and herbal.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
before they became under one publisher, they were competitors.
Yeah.
So they were going head to head, like whatever you do, I'm going to do better, and we're just going to fight for this market. Yeah. But being sisters after that cannot, right? Yeah. So female became the very fashion forward, on trend type of magazine for that sort of person. Can go a bit avant-garde, a bit very daring, a bit like even weird to a certain extent. Yeah. Whereas her world was, someone who still likes trends and beautiful things, but more mass kind of taste. Yeah. More commercial taste. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how we differentiated. And even the stories, like her world would still have a lot of feature stories on work, relationships, stuff like that. Whereas female was very focused on trends. So it's either fashion trends, beauty trends, travel trends, food trends, music trends. Yeah. So it's just someone who wants to know what's the coolest thing out there. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So in the latter half of your career as group editor, right? So you didn't get to do the like jump in and do, all the things that you used to do.
Yeah.
But so what were your responsibilities besides speaking to the editors of each title, and how did you still stay on, and because you're not doing what you enjoy, then how did you allow the passion to stay alive?
I think I saw myself as a bit of a mentor to the title editors. Yes. Which I didn't have. I didn't have that. So I mean, I think my generation of title editors didn't have that because the business was not big enough, I think, at the time. Yeah. So we all had to kind of like find our way. Yeah. But because we were a big publishing company and we had the benefit of a group editor, I could actually, in a way, not literally, not in a very subtle way, coach them. Yeah. Not just in terms of how to put the content together, but also how to manage their people. Yeah, because people management takes up a lot of time, and it's the most unenjoyable part of the job. People have problems. When they have personal problems, it will flow into their work, and then it becomes a work problem. Then it becomes a team problem. Then you have problems with your content, So you have to watch your people. You have to really take care of them. as people, and to be very aware of anyone who's struggling.
Yeah.
So I remember every new person that comes, no matter whether they join as an intern, a junior writer, a section editor, or title editor, they will have an orientation with me.
Okay.
And one thing I always remember reminding them is, if you are having problems, if you're struggling in any way, you have to let us know. Because communication and transparency is so important. Um, because we can't understand why you're always coming late. Why why your stories are always late, because you cannot finish, because maybe you are mired in problems, you are stressing out over something that's happening at home. So I always tell them, tell your editor, and then your editor is supposed to also inform me, so that everyone's on the same page. Then we can also make plans. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I know she needs to go and visit her mom, for instance, in hospital or whatever. Then maybe we need to budget for a freelancer just for that period. So it's just covering every pothole. Just being prepared, being ready, so that everyone else, all systems still go, people don't suffer. If not, your art director will be like, hey, why is the story this girl every time late one, no, the story, and then I have to rush through. I have to do all her layouts in one night. It's like, how? It's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair to the art director. And then people get angry and they don't understand why, and they just think that you're being irresponsible. So I saw my role as an overall mentor, in terms of content, people management, even budgeting, managing advertisers. Because advertisers are another kettle of fish.
Did you have to entertain a lot? Entertain advertisers?
Okay, I entertained with the salespeople, so it is through them. They will say, oh, can you join us? Because they always want to meet someone in editorial. So they feel that I've got a connection, so that if I want to pitch a story, it's easier. And it's true. It works both ways. So sometimes when we want information, or we want certain pictures that we know they have, it's also easier. The more people you know, the better. So in that sense, yes, I did entertain with my sales colleagues quite a bit. And had to go for a lot of events. To show face lah, PR, show face, support. And also like new young editors, they need to not be afraid to say no to advertisers also. Because they always think that they ask for 4 pages for this trip, that they're sending our writer to. Then they're very difficult people. So okay lah, just give 4 pages. 4 pages is a lot. I mean, what is the trip about? If it's just about one little skincare product, maybe not. How are you going to write 4 pages on that one skincare product? And 4 pages is money. It's printing money. And your other advertisers are gonna look at it and say, oh, can give 4 pages. I also advertise with you every month, so next time I'm also gonna ask. Then you start a precedent.
And then your magazine becomes an encyclopedia
of ads. And your readers will complain. It's all ads lah. For me to get to the first editorial page, I have to go through 20 pages of ads, 30 pages of ads, But it's good for us. We make money. Advertisers are happy, but you are going to lose circulation. So it's really a balancing game. So
how did that change? Were you still in it when it started to go digital?
Yes. Yes. So I'm very happy that I managed to, in a way, do it all. So we started websites for each title. Every title had a website. We were very diligent, actually, because for people like me and quite a few of my colleagues, it's a new thing. We all started with print, but a lot of the younger colleagues, they knew nothing about print publishing. So for them, it was a very natural. They were natives. They were web natives. So I had a lot to learn. I had to learn about SEO, the importance of search engine optimization, writing for search. Yeah, it is a different way of thinking, as you would know, right? Yeah, I mean, you put out content online as well. It's not about how witty your title is. Search. Who is searching for what? We write, I mean, literally, we write about what people are searching for within our area of expertise. Yeah, like say for her world, of course, we're not going to write about cars, lah, right? Or oil or whatever. We'll go into fashion and we'll see what are people looking for. Yeah. So if people are searching for, I don't know, labubus hanging on their bags, then yeah, we're gonna go out and look for all the labubus and get quotes from people and just do a quick story on that for online. Yeah. And then the way we write the title also, it has to be very search driven.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So so when you have websites, are they free content or is there a paid version?
Free. All our website content is free. We would sometimes repurpose. Part of it was repurposed from print.
Okay.
So the web team would change it to make it suitable to run on a website. Yeah. Okay. And then they would also do fresh content. Yeah. And what else? And then we also started our social media, of course. Yeah. So we started doing videos on Instagram, Facebook, stuff like that. Yeah. So it was very interesting. Yeah. I learned so much. And this happened, when did that start? I think 2011, 10 onwards. Yeah. And because we had a new media arm of I don't know if you know Hardware Zone. So Hardware Zone team was they were our colleagues. So we looked to them to teach us. Yeah. So the group editor for new media taught us a lot of things. Like I was the group editor for fashion and beauty women's titles, and this other chap was new media group editor. Then we had a men's title one, and then we had a luxury one. Yeah, so we learned so much from the new media team about how to write, just basically how to write a website story. And okay, our group editor-in-chief, she was a bit of she micromanaged lah, but in a good way, because this was a new area for us. So every Monday morning, we would have a website meeting and we would pull out all the numbers, traffic numbers, how many pages read, this particular story, how many views, and analyze everything and like what's wrong with this story, why did it do so badly, and we would look at the story and then we'll realize, okay, because it was written in a certain way, or this thing nobody cares. So change it or take it down. And the beauty of online is you can change it. So we would sometimes just alter the title a little bit, or the angle, or add in a certain personality to it who's being searched at that moment, and then the numbers shoot up. Yeah, so it was very much a numbers game. I hate to say this, but of course we never veered out of our subject matter lah. Yeah, that was right for the title. But otherwise it was just pure numbers. We were just chasing numbers.
So when you and the thing is, after you change it, then it's up there and it's there forever in a sense until you decide to take it down, right?
Correct.
Like forever readership kind of thing, right?
Yes. There's like that long tail, as they say, So some stories, very weird. It could be very, very gradual, the growth. And then one day, I don't know, that whoever you write about, something happens, then it just shoots up. So in a sense, I felt that by the time I left in 2016, everything was up and going, up and running. All the websites were up. All the social media was up. There was no we didn't have a TikTok account at the time. It was just Facebook and Instagram, but it was pretty decent. Yeah. And the editors were all doing like videos on when they go for the fashion week in Paris and Milan. And back in the day, we would like wait for the photos, like after that, you didn't need to. It's like instant. You better upload it that very day. Yeah, because it's gonna be on Vogue and everything already. Yeah, yeah. So that changed. Yeah, I think publishing was for me the same for the longest time. And in the last 10 years, it just we had to learn so quickly all the new things. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So why did you leave?
Precisely because I felt that I had seen it through, and I didn't feel that there was anything else I could do for it. Yeah,
Okay.
or for the people. And I was, if anything, an addition, an excess. Yeah, yeah. And whatever problems we still had, mind you, there's still many problems because, as you know, it's a sunset industry. Yeah, yeah. The problems were unsolvable.
Mm,
I think it is systemic. So even if we came up with ideas that we felt could shift things, in a certain direction, there was no take up. Yeah, because has to be quite radical, and I guess the higher ups were not ready to take the risk.
okay.
Yeah, so I mean, it came to a point where we realized the print editions had to be collectibles, like books almost, because you can search for anything now. I
Yeah.
don't need to buy your magazine to know what's the latest thing to buy. I need to shop for. I don't need that. But I cannot get unique personal stories, perspectives, that kind of thing. I can't. It requires someone to go and speak to someone on a certain thing, and then I create a story out of it. Yeah. So I mean, I felt that our titles needed to produce content like that you cannot really search for. Yeah, like feature stories, experiences that you can't just Google. Yeah.
So
But
do they
then,
still have the physical magazines?
yes, yes, they still all exist. I think the bridal ones have died. The bridal ones, the watch spin-offs, all the spin-offs have died. But the main titles are still around.
Okay.
Yeah, but advertising is very poor now. Magazines are very thin. Because advertisers are also knowing that no one's really picking up your magazine, so no one's looking at my ads. Yeah, everyone's on Instagram, everyone's on TikTok or whatever. I might as well be there, right? Yeah. So they've lost a lot of money in that sense. Yeah, it's very hard to monetize. And circulation is obviously down, down, down. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I felt that magazines should be collectibles that were sent out free to targeted audiences. So if you are a female type magazine, then you have to hit people who are interested in that kind of content, but you don't make them buy it. Nobody's going to buy a magazine, but they will read it if you put it in their hands. Like, who wouldn't reach out for a magazine that looks attractive on the table, right? We do that all the time. But you will not pay $7 for a magazine to go home and flip. Yeah. Yeah. So the business model I felt needed to change. And you can recoup on advertising if you do that, because then you can tell the advertiser, I have this audience for you. I have a mailing list. I have a secured circulation, and these are the right people who should be looking at your ads.
I remember like more than 10 years ago when I used to go to fly up to Malaysia almost every month to teach and do classes and all that. So a friend of mine, her mom, I don't know whether she used to be a model or she used to was in publishing or something like that, or somewhere along those lines,
Right.
she would ask, because they didn't have Her World Singapore, or was it? I can't remember. I
They
think
had
it was
Her
Her
World
World.
Malaysia.
Yeah, but she
Yeah.
wanted the Singapore version. So every time I fly up, I would
You
buy
bring
a copy of Her World and
Oh,
bring it to
thank
the airport.
you. That's very
And then,
sweet of you.
yeah, and I'll bring it.
Thank
And
you
her
so
mom,
much.
I think her mom at the time was in her 70s.
Wow.
And still,
Okay. Yeah, faithful.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, every time I go, I would buy a copy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
To
Nice.
give it to her. So
Yeah.
there is a market,
Yeah.
like you
There
say,
is,
for
yeah.
article reading, yeah.
Yeah. So that she could be the group of people who would still buy a magazine and read. Yeah, because I guess she's not interested in social media and going online to search for stuff, right? So it serves a purpose. Yeah.
And I think magazines also have a different feel. Like when
It
you want
does.
like, okay, you go to the hairdressers, or you're sitting, like if they pass you an iPad, right? You go to hairdressers, pass you an iPad and say, okay, here are all
It's
the,
not the same.
it doesn't feel
Yeah.
the same. You want to
Yeah.
flip.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Especially is when there are a lot of beautiful things in it and beautiful people, right? For some weird reason, it has to be physical.
Yeah. Yeah. There's
Yeah.
a touch and feel, right? It's a
Yes.
very tactile experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But a lot of young people, I guess, even millennials who are not actually that young, they don't know the concept of magazine.
Really?
They never grew up with magazines. So, they are like